Have you ever dreamt of being a hero? Have you ever dreamt of being the kind of person who can just get shit done? Opportunities to prove oneself are few and far between. And as we all know, looks can be deceiving. Yet, seeing is believing. So here we are again. Welcome back, guys, to another installment of Mythic Gryphon. I am Walt. You can call me Mythic. Gryphon is my dog. Of late, we've been haunting the lands of Pywell in the game Crimson Desert. And thus far, it's proven quite fun. There's been a great deal of consternation concerning this game, insofar as the fact that the mainstream media has originally poo-pooed it, the gaming communities have championed it, and therein lies the exposure of a bit of hypocrisy that we had been kind of on the trail of for quite a while now when it comes to AAA games and the mainstream media. It should come as no surprise to any of us that when there's a great deal of money to be made, it's going to attract people who are interested in money and who are conniving to the point of being able to push out those who are interested in artistic expression. And, the important thing becomes a maximization of profitability, and you start employing industry periphery businesses that advise, and they of course are then in turn driven by their own politically minded gains at all costs nature, and you come up with this scenario where people start to come to the realization that industry kills artistry. And unsurprisingly, artistry continues to force its way back in. And as a rule, it has to come in through avenues outside of where it originally developed, because that original path has been all but commandeered by those forces that destroyed it. And we see this over and over again, no matter what industry you're looking at, whether it's music or art or film. And indeed, here we see it in video games. It's not surprising. It shouldn't come as anything new, but it is something that once entities become powerful enough, they don't want you to think about clearly. They want you to be a good consumer. They don't want you to look for inspiration. They don't want you to seek out questions outside of what it is that they're laying in front of you. And it's a strange thing, and it's a human thing, and it's a bit of a pendulum swinging back and forth. But so far as we have experienced within the memory of human existence, we seem to be able to keep coming back and rebounding from it, no matter how many times we try to squash those very essential things that make us who and what we are, for the simple sake of trying to better or one-up each other. It's kind of gross, but I guess it's just how it is. And so here we see a game from the Far East doing things that our native major league corporations have not been able to muster, and it should come as no surprise, really. And yet here we all sit, jaws agape, as we see this hit come out of nowhere, despite the pressure from the media, despite the efforts of the existing industry. Here we have an example of something being able to produce a level of artistry and enjoyment that the native game culture just magnetizes to. We found it, and it's what we want, and they did it, and they're doing it smart. They're not over monetizing it. There's no cash shop. Their updates are free. It doesn't have signs of content being cut out in order to sell again at a later date, which is something that happens all the time with most modern games. So anyway, enough about the business side of things. The game itself, as I mentioned, is quite enjoyable. And let's talk about it, shall we? Crimson Desert is fun. The world is enormous. I've only experienced a portion of it, and I find myself just enjoying the exploration. The traversal mechanics of the character makes wandering around fun, from climbing up and vaulting over ledges to galloping your horse through the forests and trails, to going into cities and towns and interacting with various NPCs. It's beautiful to look at. It runs on my 2 virtual potato machines, and overall the experience, it's engrossing. It's a lot of fun, and from each aspect there is layers of depth. So the world has caves. It has an over map of floating islands that you can get up to, and then, as you see in this gameplay footage, fly down from. The NPCs are interactable and typically a level less so than something like Skyrim, although many of them will give you hints about other sorts of things in conversation. So there's layers to that. Obviously, there's also quest givers and specific NPCs that have more interactability. The locations that you can get to are varied. So far, I've really only been experiencing this kind of typical medieval world, but there's also frozen areas and hot places. It is titled after a desert. As I mentioned, you have access to a horse, but there are many horses that you can have, and you can find them out in the wild, and you can tame them. Different types spawn in different areas. There's legendary ones that you can get that have better stats. As you ride them around, they gain experience and gain levels, and with those levels, they then gain abilities. Beyond horses, there's other types of more fantastic mounts, like bears and wolves, and eventually, from what I understand, you get a dragon which can fly and shoot fire and have aerial combat. I have yet to experience that. There are pets you can tame that have various skills. From what I understand, most of them simply pick up loot that has fallen on the ground, which is very useful when you want to pick up all the loot. And if you don't want to have that fill up your inventory, you can turn off your pet. The inventory starts out quite small, but as you do quests for people, it expands, and not each, but many of the vendors will sell expansions to your inventory, and I'm at a point now where I don't really worry about it. There is a ton of crafting to be done. There are, I would almost say, Breath of the Wild inspired puzzles. Some of them are quite daunting, although there are hints, and if you take more than 3 minutes to look around and think about it, you can usually figure those out. There's a ton of customization options, from changing your gear, which will affect your stats, all the way to collecting different types of paint that you can apply to gear to further customize, something that I've always found very enjoyable in games. The combat in the game is challenging and can be quite rewarding. It's got a lot of depth to it. There's many different types of weapons you can equip. There's many different techniques you can unlock. Leveling up your gear will make you more powerful. You have customizable armor in the sense that you have, different pieces you can put on. It's not just individual outfits, different boots with different chest piece and different helmet and different gloves. There's different classes of armor. The combat can be challenging if you go out unprepared. But I haven't found it to be too punishing. Crimson Desert is a game with layers. And what I think they've done really well here is made it so that you don't really have to pursue any of the let's say, extracurricular activities, such as the crafting. It will benefit if you do. You could cook foods that will give you boosts to combat and all sorts of other things. You can enhance your weapons, which will give you an upper edge, and you probably will need to be doing that as you progress through the game. But there's really nothing stopping you from having kind of one of those life experiences like you can have in a game like Skyrim or Oblivion, for that matter, where if you wanted to, you could just go around and hunt some deer and rabbits or whatever and harvest their resources, and you can pick plants and flowers and potatoes, and you can go into town and cook things up and sell stuff, and you can just kind of exist in the game world. Crimson Desert is a type of game that has reinvigorated the whole gaming environment in a way that many of us probably didn't expect to happen this late in the development of things. It had really felt like the overall industry had trended towards a mediocrity, a scarcity of artistry, and as I mentioned earlier, I chalk that up to the exploitation of industry. Not that I'm talking about anything other than what's happening with games right now. When you say something like exploitation of industry, it certainly sounds like I'm speaking about political philosophies, and I'm not. Although they may involve these concepts as well, I am not. But what I mean by that is that this game, Crimson Desert, has really brought back many features and approaches to the development of the whole existence of the thing that seemed almost extinct in modern gaming. And I chalk that up for the reasons that I mentioned earlier. But all of that not even withstanding, it is a refreshing experience to be able to go in a big living world and just mess around to your heart's content and not have to worry about pay gates and semi-political feeling messaging. It's nice to be able to have a game that you can sink your teeth into, if you will, something that you can enjoy without having to think about that much. The story is there, and it's pretty good, and it's actually really well voice acted and animated, but at no point have I taken a week off from this game and felt like, oh geez, where the heck was I with things? The only thing that I do think is worth mentioning that I would need to take some time if I were to, let's say, take a break from this for an extended amount of time and then want to jump back in. The only thing that I'd actually have to take a moment is the controls. They are complex because it's a complex space. It's there's a lot to do, so that's just how it is. If you play an Ubisoft game, which is funny because I was just listening to some of my old reviews, and I was talking about, for example, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and I was praising it. And I still stand by that opinion, although I think that the general opinion of a game studio like Ubisoft has changed since the time of my making that recording. In any event, a game like Assassin's Creed from Ubisoft, for example, is it appears to be a similar experience, but in execution, it's really not. This just, for lack of a better phrase, blows it out of the water in terms of what you can do and eventually your overall involvement in it. You're not just going and clearing areas and kind of rinse and repeating. There's seems to be always something new around the next corner in this game. And speaking of older games, I should mention that Pearl Abyss, the developer of Crimson Desert, has another game under its belt, and as far as I know, it's the only other game that they've ever dealt with, which is Black Desert Online. And I actually have a video on that too if you check out the library here on YouTube. But the similarities between these two games are, I believe, worthy of notation. And I think that they're a boon, if anything. You might think, oh, well, if they're kind of, reusing some of the mechanics or designs from an older game, maybe that could be a detriment. But I played that game a lot. I had my own experience and feelings on the game that might differ from a lot of other people, but every time I jump in that game, there's still a ton of people online. Excuse me. But my point is that Black Desert Online has a whole lot of great features, and they've taken a lot of those features and brought them in here to Crimson Desert. Have you ever dreamt of being a hero? Yes, I have. I have dreamt of adventuring through foreign lands and doing well and doing away with ne'er-do-wells. And I find that a game experience like this can manifest that sort of a dream. Crimson Desert doesn't succeed because it follows a set of formula. Crimson Desert doesn't win because it's restricting itself to some sort of committee-approved system. Crimson Desert is a effective experience because it allows room for artistry. The world is enormous and beautiful, and the combat is satisfying, and the story is enjoyable. At the end of the day, I don't really know what else we would really want to get out of an experience like this if we're being honest about it being a gaming experience. As I've said several times now, the industry has spent a great deal of time kind of trying to force things in a specific direction or another, and I feel like we really need to let the products be what they're meant to be and not be too concerned with all the other stuff that's out there to be concerned with. It's a big world in reality, and we should be spending as much time in it as possible. And if we're doing that and attempting it and hopefully accomplishing it, then there's nothing wrong that I could see with having a little bit of escapist fantasy, which I think Crimson Desert does well in spades. And I've just barely scratched the surface of this game. I'm not really into trying to become a completist or, rush through the story to unlock everything. I'm just out here enjoying the experience of the game, trying to get a feel for the world. And I think, for me at least, it's the best way to do it because that's how I like to do it in games. These big open world experiences can be a great escapist realm from the daily grind of wretchedness that we seem to be experiencing in our modern world right now. First world problems, am I right? But anyway, speaking of the real world, get out there and get some sunshine. It's a great time of year, no matter what time of year it is. It's a great time of day, no matter what time of day it is. Thank you for watching. Please hit like, share, or subscribe. It helps other people find this video, and it means the world to me. Enjoy yourself. Be good. Be fair. Be free. Thanks for watching. Mythic Gryphon out.